Welcome to Life, Lafter Divorce, episode 15. I am your host, Leanne Linsky.
And I'm still the boyfriend. So, random question.
Yeah, random answer.
If you could do anything, what would you do?
Bananas. That was my random answer.
Perfect.
So if I could do anything in the world, it would be retire early and like hang out on the beach in a hammock reading books.
All right.
But that's probably not what you meant.
Not really. So if you could do anything career-wise, what would you do?
If I could do anything career-wise, I think it would be Life, Laughter, Divorce. You know, I mean, right now, what you're hearing is the podcast, and there's other things in the work that I haven't launched yet. So there's a lot of good things coming up, and I'm very excited about. And if I could spend the rest of my life working on this stuff, I would be happy. I'd be really happy.
That'd be great. So how did you come up with these ideas? When did you decide to make the change or to incorporate what you've learned from the comedic world into Life, Laughter, Divorce?
Well, I actually came up with the idea 3 years ago, and it had nothing to do with this podcast until about a year and a half ago when we met is when the podcast idea came around. But before I was actually working on putting together all of these other aspects to it, which will be coming out in the next couple of months. So that I'm super excited about. But it's been 3 years in the making.
So you've been divorced for what, 17 years now?
Yeah.
So
since 99.
14 years of living single and getting through life, learning a lot from your experiences to put all of those together into this business venture. Correct?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would never in a million years have thought that this is what I'd be doing because first of all, in 99, podcasts didn't exist. So that was one technology. And my other ideas for this business that I want to roll out soon, those also couldn't have existed, 2 decades ago.
Go technology.
Go internet. So, times have changed and as technology has, so has my perspective on things. And I've learned a lot of other skills in the meantime. So it's kind of cool to look back and be, oh, this is a unique toolbox and I could do a lot with it. No, I would never have dreamed in a million years this is what I would be doing.
But it's great. You are excited for the potential and moving forward, right?
Yeah, it's really cool. And you know what? It's kind of funny to think like some of the worst times in one's life are what later become the best times or the best things. And if you hadn't experienced those bad times, you couldn't have thought up, this business idea, or you couldn't be doing this because it'd be like, why? What would be your point? What would be your passion in doing it if you hadn't run into some crappy times?
Yeah, but that's a lot of people or a lot of successful business people that way. They turn some sort of tragedy or some sort of mistake into something wonderful that they've learned from and they've grown from and they've turned into this amazing business. Yeah. So we're excited to see what's coming from you in the near future.
Yep.
But I think that gets us to our guest this week because she did something similar too.
Yes. This week's guest is Tiffany Beverlin, CEO and founder of DreamsRecycled.com and best-selling author of My Dreams Recycled, chronicling how Tiffany made divorce lemons into lemonade for other divorcees. So without further ado, So thanks for coming on and everything.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's been busy, which is good. Trying to keep all the balls in the air.
No, I think that's a woman's plight, isn't it? We can't just do one thing. We have to do 8.
Yes, at the same time.
Yeah.
At the same time.
I'm all about positivity. I think obviously divorce is horrible, horrible, horrible. But I don't think it needs to be that horrible.
No, it doesn't. And so, no, it doesn't. It needs to be better. In fact, that's why I got into doing comedy improv and some stand-up in the first place is because I'd gone through 2 divorces. So I decided I was going to say yes to everything that came along. And
I did that. Yes, everything for 30 days. Ooh, that was bad.
Did you? Well, it could be good. It could be bad, I guess, depending on who's doing the asking. Yeah. So cool.
Funny.
Well,
so go ahead. So how long ago were you divorced? I'll make it. Now I'm interviewing you, right? Okay. How long?
I was divorced. Well, it's been a long time. So my first divorce was in 95 and my second divorce was in 99.
So back to back almost.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm about 85 now. No.
So do you think it got easier? I've only been divorced once.
You've been, when was yours?
Mine was 2013.
2013. Oh, that's not that long ago.
No. But mine was a long spread out 4.5 years of chaos. So it started in 2010. And so that's kind of how I built my company, because I was like, God, like every mistake you could have made during your divorce, I made it.
You made mistakes. I didn't know you could make mistakes in divorce. What kind of mistakes did you make?
Oh, a lot. Like I dated horrible people, made horrible choices in like who I dated.
I didn't know that I had to be divorced to make horrible choices.
I made horrible choices in the lawyer I picked, in the people I listened to for advice. I was just like clueless, like deer in the headlights, like, and I have 3 children. And so then I like made it through the divorce, and I was like, oh my God, like that was awful. Like everything I did was wrong. Can I get a redo? Well, I couldn't get a redo, but I can help other people to redo it better, right? so that's kind of where I started my company from. So
yeah. So how did you come up with Dreams Recycled? What were you doing when you came up with this idea?
I literally was sleeping. I dreamt of it.
Really?
Yeah, I literally dreamt.
So what was this dream like? Were you just like taking all this stuff and just selling it on eBay? What was in your dream? Like throwing it out into the yard, having a garage sale?
Yeah. No, well.
Because I dream about that all the time.
Yeah. No, I dreamt I couldn't sell my engagement ring. Like I was having one of those horrible stress dreams. Like some people dream that they, can't find a bathroom or can't find the room for an exam. Well, I must have been manifesting this somehow in my sleep. And I was like going from jeweler to jeweler, will you buy my ring? And they were like, we'll give you $1.
$1?
Yeah, I was like, don't you know that's a diamond? It's got to be worth more than that. And it was like on and on and on. And then I was just like, screw it. I'll just sell my ring and the ring of everyone else's on a website called dreamsrecycled.com.
Oh.
And I dreamt the name and everything. So I woke up, I was like, that was odd. And I started researching it, and I started researching the diamond industry and like how many divorces there were and how many people it affects. Because I think when you go through it, you're the only one. You think you're in this little bubble of, I'm the only one that's going through this. And I, like within 13 days, I incorporated my company, and the rest is history and an ongoing process too. But that's how it started.
Wow, I can't believe you dreamt this whole thing up. I think of all the things I want to do, and it, sit there for hours. I wish I could dream that vividly. That's pretty cool. You kind of gave me a little bit of background about how you got here. And you talked about all of these bad dating mistakes and everything. What was the worst one that you came across that you experienced?
I think I get a prize. I'm not sure. I invite people to call in and let me know somebody know if they've been on a worse date than this. But it's actually one of the chapters in my book. I went on a date with a man, lunch. It was a lunch date, first date, and he bought me a box of anesthetized butterflies and a pair of leg spreaders.
Wait, what? What? So when you say butterflies, they're not like butterflies like that fly.
No, like a real actual living butterfly.
He bought you butterflies and 600 butterflies.
Yes. And they're actually really like traditionally for a wedding, and I didn't know this is what they do. If you ever see at a wedding, one of those kind of mesh boxes, and they lift the box and the butterflies go everywhere. it's like that, only they like anesthetize them. So they're asleep. That's why they all live. And then when you warm them up, so they're packed in dry ice. And then as they wake up, they all fly away.
Okay, so he got you that in a leg spreader?
Yes, and a pair of leg spreaders.
What? I don't even know where to go from there. What did you say when you opened this gift?
Well, I didn't know what it was. Like, I've been married for 100 years since the Clinton administration, and we didn't do stuff like that.
Was it like a Jaws of Life type thing? Was it like that Sally Struthers exercise thing?
Yeah.
Was it in a box that said what it was?
It was in the back of his car, and in my head, I'm going through my mom's always like, don't go near people's cars, don't go on dates with weirdos, don't, da, da, da. So I'm thinking, oh God, don't go near the car, don't go near the car.
And then he takes you around to the trunk?
No, he took a photo, because I wouldn't go near the car. I was so paranoid. So he took a photo and he texted it to me. And it was like a metal bar with two cuffs on the end.
Okay, yeah. So I'm picturing you on this date, and you're having lunch. Were you sitting inside the restaurant or outside?
I was sitting inside the restaurant. It was a sushi restaurant, and the butterflies were in a white, like a styrofoam box that was filled with dry ice. And so it looked like maybe there might be body organs in there ready for donation. So it was all very odd.
Did he bring the styrofoam box, like the cooler, into the sushi restaurant? Or did he text? Yeah. Did it look like it was like an ice chest or something?
Yeah, it looked like an ice chest. But when I went, he goes, I bought you a present. And it was like this big box. So I was like, okay, this is so weird on so many levels, like instantly. You didn't even keep your crazy in the box for like 4 days. So
no, it's like, I would have thought, like, what am I dating? An organ donor? What is going on?
And then I start to open it, and he goes, be careful. And I'm like, oh. And I didn't know what it was. And I lifted it out, and it was like this mesh box, and all the butterflies are stacked, and they're all asleep. And I do actually quite like butterflies. I felt sorry for them.
Well, yeah, but cooler full of ice and butterflies. I mean, it's not like you can let them all go in the restaurant. So did you guys go somewhere and release them?
No, I took them home because I felt bad leaving them with him. I wasn't sure what would happen. So I took them home. So and children and I released them in the garden. They were actually very pretty, but it was kind of odd.
Okay, so did he present these at the beginning of the date? Or I have so many questions. Are they at the beginning of the date, at the end of the date? Did he have it like a cooler stuffed under his chair, like during lunch? What?
No. Yeah, no, he gave it to me straight away. And the tie-in was that on Match.com, my little name that I used was Butterfly and some numbers I can't remember now. It was so long ago. But so that was his gift.
Was it like Butterfly Leg Spreader with your name on? What?
Yeah, no, that would be perfect though. I might go back on and change it to that if I want.
Okay, so you end up proceeding with lunch. At what point does he go out to his car and take a picture of the leg spreader and text it to you?
No, that was after the date. So the date was very odd. So I got the butterfly.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. And then I really don't know what to say because I'm a very gracious, thankful person. So I thanked him 8 different times for the butterflies because I really didn't know what else to do. And then we went through lunch, and I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt because I thought, you know what, maybe this is the way he expresses himself with butterflies. I don't know. I'm just trying to make it through lunch.
Plus, you're already there and you're hungry, so
yeah. Well, sushi, right?
Who doesn't? Right. So you make it through lunch, and
yeah, so we make it through lunch, and then he goes, "Come to my car. I have another gift for you." And now I'm thinking, no, near the cars. That's where they keep the chloroform, right? That's what my mommy says. So you don't go near people's cars. And I was like, no, it's okay. I have to go. And he goes, it's okay. I'll text you a photo. You can get them on our next date. And then he texted me the photo. And at the time I was ridiculous. Like I said, I was literally out of a 20-year relationship marriage, 16 years of marriage. I hadn't dated since the Clinton administration. I hadn't nothing. I didn't know what that was. And he sent me a picture of it, and I kind of text back ? Because it looked kind of like a shower pole with cuffs. I was like, what is that? I don't even know. And he texts back leg spreaders. And then I drove home and like Google all this stuff. And I was like, oh, no. So the wrong person, not for me. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. Did you save that picture on your text? Do you still have it on your camera?
I don't know. Probably not. That was probably like the second date I ever went on after my separation. I was like, oh, Lord, is this really what it's going to be like?
Did you give up right away? Or did you like, I mean, I don't even know what I would think if someone took a picture. That's kind of creepy and a weird. Butterflies. I don't even know where to go with that.
See, I ask people all the time. I've never met anyone who could top it yet.
No, that's a big one to top. I mean, you have high the bar has been set. The bar has been set by those leg spreaders and everything else under those. The poor woman that he went to dinner with or lunch with the next day. That is something.
Well, and I'm like, you know what? I don't judge people, whatever they're into.
No, everybody can.
Yeah, but it was just, like I said, I was just very, very out of the dating pool and then dropped straight into the tsunami deep end. So it was kind of scary.
Well, he kind of went from one extreme of being extremely romantic at the top to being very presumptuous there for dessert. You know what I mean? Like for sushi's a nice lunch, but it wasn't steak and lobster. So he may have saved the leg spreader. That's, what happened to flowers and candy? I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I don't know. I mean, I guess he definitely gets some marks for originality. We'll give him that.
Has anyone come close since then?
Not gifts. I mean, I have, if my book, there's a passage in there or a chapter in there called 400 Dates, because after having like this very brief relationship, I realized that I really actually wasn't ready to be in a relationship. I'd just been married for 16 years and maybe there was a benefit from being single. Mm-hmm. So I kind of embarked on this, I will just say yes to everything.
That's what I did. Yeah.
It's a good way though, right? Because I didn't know myself, none less know what I wanted in anyone else. So I just, and I was honest with people, which I think, everybody should be in dating. I think you can date, you can be into leg spreaders, you can be into whatever you want to be, but just be honest about it up front. So I was honest and I said, I don't want to, be in a relationship. I just want to meet new people, get out of my house and kind of see what will happen. And for the most part, most people I actually met were very, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and somewhat normal, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Mostly normal. But there was, in the book, there's quite a few other weird dates I went on with people who just, I don't know, they need to all go to like social skill school 101. Because I think they need to there are just certain things you don't like say on a first date or do on a first date. Or like I said, you really need to keep the crazy in the box for a few dates.
At least for a few. I mean, at least make an attempt to hide it. I had gone on, I'm thinking now back when I first started dating, it was so long ago, but I actually went out with a guy and halfway through dinner, I looked at his hand. He started talking with his hands and he was wearing a wedding ring.
Yeah, I love that.
And I put my fork down. I said, I need to go home. He's like, what? And I said, you need to take me home. He's like, what are you talking about? I go, what is that on your finger? And he goes, well, that's my wedding ring. He goes, but we're not together anymore. And I go, I started looking around the restaurant. I go, I really don't want to get shot or anything like that right now. So I'm out. Like that's.
Well, and I will, though, give him kind of brownie points for still wearing the wedding ring and being honest about it. Yeah. I think by far, I think the worst people that I've met online dating are the ones who are pretending to be single while married. And they have whole profiles on all these dating, I want to find the person to be with and fall in love with. And they have their poor long-suffering, no doubt, wife and children at home, and then
Absolutely.
they drag you as a single person into this kind of hideous dynamic.
You're right.
So those people, I think, are the worst of all. I think they're the unforgivable daters.
Yes, absolutely right. I wouldn't argue with you on that one. So you started Dreams Recycled, and I've been on your site and everything, and I know what you do, and you it's a place where people can sell their wedding dress, their wedding shoes, wedding rings. They can recycle all of this stuff, right?
Correct. It's a marketplace. It's the only one in the world that we know of that specializes in selling things from people's divorces. I'm a big advocate on releasing that space from those things, because as much as, we all talk about nowadays, thoughts become things in your life, but at the same time, things become thoughts. And so if you walk into your house and hanging on the wall behind you is a painting of, something that you and your ex-husband or ex-wife got from a trip to Venice or whatever, whether we believe it or not, subconsciously, every time we see it, every time we think it, we're still connected to that person, which makes it a lot harder to let go and move on and find, new happiness in whatever form that is. So what started as a very simple idea has grown into a whole divorce community, and we now offer a connecting space where people can connect with other divorcees for friendship, dating, networking, etc. And we have resources where we can kind of help triage them to secondary divorce services. And we have 120 expert bloggers who blog about everything divorce that you can think of. And I'm very, very particular about who I let blog on my website.
Yeah, I've looked at a few of them. They're pretty in-depth and well done. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like obviously there's a lot of information, and I found during my divorce, and I don't know if you did, but the information out there, it's like you just want like practical, common sense, make sense, actionable steps, what to do, how to do it, and in an easy form. Like we kind of get caught up in all the really, really heavy psychology of X, Y, and Z, but at the end of the day, I know for a fact during my divorce, I wasn't in a place where I could like even ingest any of that mentally. I was just like, somebody just tell me what to do, just help me, guide me in a practical way that I can understand and actually get through a day and do it. Like, I don't want to sit, and analyze what happened to me at 5 for 14 days to get to, one thing. Okay, what do I do today? Okay, you get up, you take daily positive action, you do whatever, you sell your things, you move on. And I think for most people, I think it's a better way to do it.
Yeah. You had mentioned earlier that when you had gone through your divorce, you had made a bunch of mistakes and you wish you had the right people because you had a lot of negative influencers and people trying to do the wrong things. What were some of the things that you had done wrong that when you put this together, you knew how to right?
Right. Well, the first one that I did wrong, I did not educate myself, which is no excuse for this nowadays. Google is free information for the world, right? Bing, Yahoo, whatever. You get on there and you educate yourself about the basic laws in your state, because all divorce lawyers and all people that give you advice are not created equal. So, the average person has enough intelligence that they can get on there. They can look up the basic, guidelines of what you're entitled to, what the custody laws are in your state, what to expect going through a divorce. There's no reason to go into a divorce like I did, like this kind of deer in the headlights, and I just presumed somebody would fix it all and make it right. And I kind of had the impression at the time that the divorce lawyer kind of took care of all this.
Yeah.
Which was my second mistake, believing that. And so the first like divorce lawyer I had in the first kind of process, I just couldn't understand it. I'd say, like, don't you know? You're the lawyer. Like, aren't you supposed to know all this stuff? And he was like, it's not for me to know what you want. You have to figure that out. But I later found out, most of this is set in stone in the court of your, in the laws of your court. And even though it definitely is subjective in some areas, especially in some states more than others, but there's a basic guideline that you can't listen to your ex telling you that you're not going to get anything, or you can't listen to whoever. My first divorce lawyer said to me, don't even worry about alimony. Don't worry about it. You're cute. Just go marry someone else. That was his advice.
Oh my goodness.
So
really?
Yeah. But so the second mistake I made was getting online and not understanding what search engine optimization was and trying to find a lawyer by searching for like best lawyer in whatever.
Oh, right.
A good lawyer who looks good, lawyer who wins, lawyer who whatever. I mean, this is all a paid per place platform now. Mm-hmm. So whoever's showing up is not the best lawyer. They have the most money and they market the best, but this does not make them the best lawyer. And so when I redid everything, I really advocate everybody, like word of mouth. It's embarrassing because you don't necessarily want everyone to know what's going on in your town, but there are good people who can keep a secret. And ask around your friends, even if you say, my friend is looking for a lawyer, who would you suggest?
Right.
Already. But that's a much better indicator of who actually is a good lawyer. Because people, your peer group, people, the mums on the playground and your friends who go for coffee and whatever you do at the gym, I mean, those people have a lot less reason to lie to you about who did a good job and who didn't do a good job. Come to Dreams Recycled, we have people that we vetted who we feel are good. And, if we get any kind of complaints, we remove them from our directories. But there is no perfect kind of one fit lawyer for everyone, but at least start from a basic understanding of what you think you should be entitled to, what the laws are. Get with a lawyer that has been recommended by somebody you know and trust, whether it's a friend, family member, even if you have another lawyer friend who you've worked with in a different capacity, ask them, who would you use for a divorce lawyer? I think it's a much better place to start and would have saved me a lot of problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like it. And that's a really good point, because things have changed considerably, the way you can research and find information out for services and things that you need in order to go through a divorce, which back in the 90s, I didn't have any of that.
Correct.
I didn't have any of that. I mean, I looked in the yellow pages. That was my research. I found somebody, called and said, how much do you charge? That was about the extent of my research. And I think you're right. Nowadays, there is a lot to be said. I wouldn't have thought about that, but you're right with Google Ads and how people do their searches and how well they market themselves doesn't necessarily mean they're the best. I think, well, I can't imagine going through a divorce nowadays, and especially with social media to top it all off. So yeah,
social media is a nightmare for divorce. I was just reading the other day, Facebook is mentioned in one in every 3 divorces in America nowadays.
Really? And is this probably because people are doing affairs online and right?
Yeah, either they really are doing affairs, or they're having emotional affairs, or they're attempting to connect with exes, or they're passing information through Facebook that they shouldn't be. It's just all fraught with danger. And people say, oh, well, no one can get in there. That's actually not true.
Right. Yeah.
So massive advocate, do not write anything down that you do not want to be used against you, whether it's email, text, Facebook, don't do it.
Exactly. Passing notes. Don't you miss those days? Passing notes in school. That was dangerous then. So, but those are fabulous points. You have great resources on your site. I mean, it's just wonderful, and it's well put together. It's easy to navigate through because you have your chat rooms for I saw you have Divorce Divas, and you have the Man Cave and different things.
Yeah, we actually have a high number of males on our website, which is awesome because they understand that, divorce is an equal opportunity destroyer. And I've spoken to as many men who have had horrible outcomes as I have women who have had a horrible outcomes. The family law system is clearly broken from both sides. Yeah. And we all need to work together to fix it, because it's not really him against her. It should be all of us in support of our children and ourselves, trying to make a happier life after divorce.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's true. I mean, it's both sides. You never know who's going to be affected more or less or how. But then you also have the dating chat room, right?
We have the single and ready to mingle.
Yeah. How does that work in there?
Yeah, well, they can go in there and they can talk in a group setting. And if they connect, then they can go into a private chat room. So, and have a private conversation. And then whatever they want to do, it's a free service we offer on our website. We don't charge anyone to be a member or to chat or to read our blogs or do anything on there. So there's no reason not to come join us.
Mm-hmm. No, it's really, really cool. So people need to check that out. So when you had this dream and you thought about all of this, did you dream of doing your book at that same time, or did that come later?
No, I could never have done my book. I mean, I didn't know I could write. Who knew?
So how did that come about?
I actually just started blogging. When I put my website up, I started blogging and I started getting a following of my blogs. And I thought, people are reading this. I have something valuable to say. Who knew? And it kind of grew from there. And then I was very kindly asked to be a Huffington Post blogger. And then I blog for She Savvy. And now I'm a Thrive blogger. And it kind of grew from there. And then I got approached about writing a book about my story, because my story is kind of interesting. I went from this unemployable, I hadn't worked for 12 years, mom of 3, to the CEO of my own tech company, which I actually knew nothing about. There's still some like little things I don't know. There's like a black box thing over there that's emitting things that makes my computer work. So that's quite weird stuff. But it was just, I mean, it's just such a interesting story. And I kind of dithered about whether I would do it or not. And then I finally agreed to do it. And I'm really glad I have, because I think the book has actually reached even more people, in a different way than my website. And it's an inspirational book that isn't about how great I am, but it's about that I did make all these mistakes and I did mess up a million times. But at the end of the day, you just keep going. You don't give up. And this is where I am now. And I don't think there's anything special about me exactly that anyone else out there couldn't do what I've done. So I think divorce should be, obviously we don't advocate divorce, but if you're going to get divorced, you do it in the most positive way possible. And part of that is that it gives you an opportunity to kind of have a redo of your life, to recycle your life any way you want and become anything you want. I think a lot of us in our marriages, we're just kind of get stuck in this everyday routine with our husbands, our wives, our children, we go to the same restaurant on Friday night, we go to the same church, we go to the same grocery store. There's nothing very exciting. And so divorce, I think, should be almost celebrated as a chance to redo what you want in your life that you weren't happy about. So if you have a mad passion for, a cousin of mine, she has an amazing website for dogs. She loves animals, always has. She didn't get divorced, but she had a moment where she completely changed careers and just decided to do this. And I think we should all celebrate this. People who, all of us can get up every day and decide who and what and how we want to be, right? And we forget we hold this power every single day. And so I think divorce releases that, and you get clean slate. You can rebuild. You can, start a different career. You can start a different way of life. You can recycle your body. You can recycle, in many ways. We can change the people we date, the church we go to, the grocery store we go to, the places we travel to. And if we start really looking at divorce like that, like it's opportunity to do all the things that we could never do when we were married, then I think it starts to be a lot less dismal.
Absolutely. I mean, I went through the same thing. I remember, and I've said this many times on different episodes, but, there's that moment where you're crying and I stop and it's like, this is it. I have to make a choice. Either I move forward and I make this the best thing that ever happened to me, or I continue playing a victim. And I knew I didn't want to be a victim, and I didn't want to grow old and bitter and be that woman with 30 cats. I wanted to take this as an opportunity to say yes to all the things that I had never said before. And you're right. I think I hear that from so many people. It's a chance to start completely over. It's kind of like moving. Whenever you move into a new place, it's your opportunity to redecorate and put a whole new personality in the place in which you live. And it's kind of doing the same thing within oneself. Now you've been married once. Have you considered being remarried? You're smiling.
I think I did what a lot of people did. I think after my first marriage, you come out and you have that kind of, I will never get married again. I'm never doing that. That was so stupid. And you kind of dig in your heels and you're like, never, 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 never. But over time, I've come to realize that it really wasn't the being married. It was more who you were married to.
I was going to say, and plus for me, I may have dug in my heels for about 24 hours. And then 2 years later, I was married again.
Yeah, that's not very good resolve there.
No.
No, but so I think I kind of got to the point where I don't make marriage my end goal, because I think that's dangerous also.
Yes.
I've talked to 6,000 divorcees, and one of the things I say to them, I say, were you in love when you got married? And often the answer is no. And I was like, really? Who knew? But I think that's the sign of kind of the culture that we live in, that we have this fixation with you can't be happy. There's no end goal unless you're, standing in a big, giant, ugly white dress with a cake and a groom. And that's our fixation on being happy. But really, we really need to focus, whether you're divorced, whether you're single, whether you're married, that your marriage doesn't make you happy. Being with somebody doesn't make you happy. What makes you happy is how you feel about yourself and how you live your life on a daily basis and what you dedicate your time to that makes you happy. And so we advocate this a lot on Dreams Recycled, that everyone's happy ever after does not look the same. And that's okay. And so I no longer say I will never get remarried, but it's definitely not my end goal to happiness. I feel like I've actually found my happiness. And my happiness is that I started this company where I really feel like we do good. And I wake up every day and I open my mailbox and I have lovely messages from people who we've helped. And that's my version of happy. I feel like I've found my calling in life and my passion, and I get to do it every single day, and I will until I die. I don't think I'll ever actually retire even. So that's my version of happy. And if the perfect man,
and we say perfect, right?
Yeah, well, perfect for me, man, ever asked me to marry him, then maybe we will reassess this.
Yeah. It's true. It's not an end game. It's not what's going to make or break us. It's something that's a plus if it happens, And what's interesting is you just said something to, is if we'll see if someone asked me, would you ever ask somebody else?
It just passed, right? So a friend of mine actually just did this. So February the 29th, every 4 years, it's the only day supposedly in tradition that girls can ask boys to marry them, right? So a friend of mine actually just did that, and he said yes.
Really?
So why, right? Yeah, why not?
That's pretty cool. Because after we talk, I could see, and you're telling me all of this, it's what I want, and I'm happy in doing what I want. And then I feel like we as women, society says a man does all the asking and everything. But why is it up to them to ask? If you know what I mean? I think about it, it's a whole different world now. Would I? Probably not. No.
That's not very empowered. The answer is yes, I would.
No, I guess I would, but I probably. I guess because being married isn't necessarily my end game. It's I'm open to it. I guess if the time struck, I never thought about it until just now. Would I ask somebody? But listening to you, I'm like, how come? Why wouldn't we ask somebody?
Well, we should ask somebody if we want to ask somebody. But I also kind of feel like, a piece of paper doesn't ever make anything better. And I kind of analyze a lot of the people that I speak to, and when they tell me the story, you they either say it outright or you can kind of read in between the lines. A lot of times people get married and ask other people to marry them for horrible, horrible reasons.
Yes,
that makes sense at the time, but then obviously it comes to fruition that this was not a good plan. And I think women too, we are the one who get asked. A lot of times we say yes because we don't know what else to say. Because because we don't want to break them, and we don't want to do anything like to hurt them, and we kind of go along with it, and men feel pressured into it, so they ask because they feel like, you know, the parents are waiting for them to do it, or all their friends are married and they don't want to be the only one that isn't. So, you know, equal parts, the men and the women, we both make horrible decisions.
And I don't know, I don't know that it's a horrible decision. I think sometimes it seems right at the time, like it's meant to be, but then there's a time where it's also meant to be over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe they're just, I read a long time ago, I think it was Germany, someone there had talked about marriage should be a 7-year contract.
Yeah.
And then you get then you get an opportunity to renew it if you want. I mean, everything else you could comes with options. Why does it have to be forever?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think even if it's not a 7-year option, I mean, I think any marriage could have a really, really you know, tight prenup at the beginning that says at any time either person, you know, like it's a business contract, which is actually what divorce ends up being. And I wish somebody had told me that too.
It is.
If I thought of it more business, less emotional, I would have done much better through my divorce.
Well, I could argue either point. I can see in so many ways that it is a business contract. There's a huge percentage of it that this is because you're married, these things, insurance and money and this kind of thing. Absolutely. But I also think that marriage, and this is something like if I were to get married again, I would rather that be completely secondary. But my journey with it would be completely spiritual and what the commitment between two people mean versus anything else off the books. And my idea of getting married in a wedding isn't necessarily the big, ugly white dress and the church and the this and the that, but as a promise, a commitment. And what that is between two people versus anything else, whether you change your names, whether you don't change your names, whether you do it in official ceremony and get a piece of paper or not. However you make that, like I almost, you know, thinking back, because I was married both times when I was young, right? And I think when that comes about and we are proposed to, the next 6 months to a year, our lives are become consumed by planning this big one-day event so that our friends and family can eat and drink for free, you know, is what it comes down to. Nobody remembers your flowers. Nobody remembers what color shoes you wore. Nobody remembers the matchbooks. You know, like all of that is, to me, looking back, is wasteful. You know, I mean, it's an experience and it can be fun, but I wish I would have spent more time on the journey of the relationship in that time rather than the event.
No, and I think that's true. And I think this is the benefit of having love second time around or third time around, right? We shift our focus on what's important. I mean, I know for a fact next time around I would not buy a brand new ring. Why would I?
Really?
It's like as soon as you buy, you know, from a regular jeweler, you buy your ring. As soon as you get it out of the shop, it's worth only between 18 and 25% of what you just paid for it 5 minutes before.
So it's almost smarter to get a car.
Yeah.
Or the equivalent of buying a new car. Because the minute you drive it off the lot.
Well, no, and there's no correlation between how much money is spent on your ring and your divorce rate. So this doesn't guarantee no divorce. And the same with what you spend on your wedding. I mean, I next time around, and I speak to a lot of people in their second and third marriages, and they say the nice thing about falling in love the second time around is you're not doing it because you want to have children with somebody or you want the picket fence and the house and the car and the whatever. You're really doing it more based on your personal needs or wants and hopefully more based on love. And knowing yourself a little bit better as we get older. We know more what we like, what we don't like. And I think that's the same with a marriage ceremony. If I got married again, I would have everything that I liked. I would not have anything wedding-y at all. I would have my favorite food, whatever that is, and I would have a ring that's recycled because diamonds are millions of years old. Why am I spending all that money, you know, for no reason, where you can get them at dreamsrecycled.com.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. Why would you buy anything new? I thought the same thing when I got married the second time. I thought I'm going to do everything completely different than I did the first time. And I would do it this way. And so the first time I got married in a little chapel on the Strip in Vegas, right? So it was this little tiny wedding, and we had a very, very frugal, reception with friends at our place. And so we did it on the very low budget and simple. My mom made my dress. Like, it was very, very on the cheap. In fact, our wedding ring and engagement ring was only $99 for the set. Yeah. So we did that. So what did I do on the next wedding? Complete opposite. So that's why the third time, if it comes around, is I don't think I focus on any one of those things at all.
I wouldn't either. And I think that I would have stuff that was a lot more special between me and whoever I was marrying.
Yeah.
I wrote a blog for Huffington Post recently about this, and I interviewed some lovely, lovely people on their second and third marriages. People had yellow dresses, red dresses, no dresses, wooden rings, gemstone rings. This lady had this amazing ceremony in the woods, and it was just like very, very rustic and very low key, and she wore like a sundress, and I think that, that's the person that she was, and obviously that's the person that he fell in love with. Mm-hmm. And so we are very, very traditional in America, I think, to have the, pretty similar, the rubbery chicken dinner and the big white dress and the cake.
The dinners, they're horrible. Yeah. Anytime someone's getting married, I'm like, forget about it. All you need is really good food. Forget the sit down. It will be terrible. Do a buffet with really mozzarella sticks or something. So people, you have an open bar and some really good food and great music. Nobody cares about anything else. Like you could wear a potato sack. Nobody would notice.
Well, and it's funny because we've evolved so much through technology in the last 20 years. But if you look at the average wedding, we really haven't evolved at all. It's still the rubbery chicken, the giant white dress, and the 3-tier cake. Mm-hmm. So I think it's time anyway, even in a traditional marriage, that we kind of update that a little bit and let people have more of their personalities in their weddings.
Maybe there'll be Facebook weddings.
No doubt there probably are.
Well, they're probably Facebook living though right now. That's probably a thing. So,
and there must be like getweddingnow.com. That has to be, right, where you can log on like this, and next thing you know, you and I are married in like 8 states.
Yeah. Wow. Which means if that happens, the opposite's going to happen, which is going to be the same as getting a lawyer that does divorce via Skype or something.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that somebody's working on that. Yeah.
There, put that on Recycled.
Yeah. Dreams Recycled. Yeah. No, maybe that's the next thing.
Yeah. So what is the next thing for you?
Well, this book just came out, and I'm very fortunate that it's a bestseller. So this one is My Dreams Recycled. The second book in that series is called My Dreams Renewed, and that one will come out in January 2018. It follows off the cliffhanger of this one. So I'm doing that, and I have some other exciting things in the works that I'm working on, some that I can't say about. If things go well, people will be seeing a lot more of me, whether they want to or not.
Well, that would be fabulous.
So we're hoping maybe there's some people looking into making a movie of it, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
So we'll see, because like I said, it's just a very good story, because it's true. Like most things in life, truth is better than fiction.
That's right. It kind of writes itself. And who knew that you were going to be an author in all of this when you were going through this heartache?
Yeah, no, I had no idea. I mean, I think most of us, we really don't know what we're capable of until we have to be capable of it.
Mm-hmm. You become super resourceful, which is what you did.
Yeah, and you have to. And I think somebody said to me when I was going through my divorce, and I thought it was really interesting, and it's kind of come back over and over again. They said the phrase to me, use the gifts you were given. And I remember my first reaction, because I'm a negative Nelly, being, I can't do anything.
What were you doing before all of this? Were you a stay-at-home mom?
I was a stay-at-home mom. I was a stay-at-home mom for, I don't know, it was mostly for between 12 and 15 years. So
that's a long time. That's a long time. Yeah. And how are your kids adjusting? What do they think of everything you're doing?
My kids actually love it. My kids really understand it. I mean, obviously, they had to go through a divorce too, which is the interesting thing about children. So they, totally understand it. My daughter's 13. She could probably counsel any divorcee out there because she listens to me on the phone sometimes. And so, they're good, and they know that we help people. And I think that that's been a really good life lesson for me, that I didn't understand that there are many ways that you can support your family and make a living. And I think when you're doing something that you have a passion for and is helping, it makes you never work a day in your life. Like, I never feel like I'm working.
Which is wonderful. Fabulous. That is wonderful. So your ex-husband, what does he think of all of this? Because obviously you still have contact with him, right?
Yeah, we share custody with my children, and yeah, I don't really know what he thinks about it actually, but
whatever.
I hope that he likes it, because I think that, like I said, I think it's a good service. It's a good thing when you help people. And after my stay-at-home mother years, I really didn't have any kind of transferable skills. I hadn't worked since the 90s, and only then I'd worked for a very short period of time. And, employees don't like this giant decade gap in your resume. They're like, what were you doing?
Yeah.
And so I think, my story is not unusual. I think you'll find a lot of women and some men who were stay-at-home dads who also, after the divorce, have to go back to work. And unfortunately, the corporate world is not very inviting of those people back. And and I think that's true even just if you've lost your job, you get sick, you're laid off, whatever. I think you're seeing more and more people who are put in a situation that they have no choice but to recycle their lives some way.
Yeah. And you have quite the inspiring story, because you really took something and made lemonade out, lemons out of lemonade. Lemonade out of lemons. I said it back.
Yeah, we did. No, I really did. I mean, I think we're kind of the ultimate, your story is similar, where there's just a certain type of person, I feel, that takes something bad, and you have a lot of humor in what you do. I do a lot of stuff with humor. People give me for it, but I feel there's a benefit to that. I think there's too much of the negativity, too much of the downside of divorce. I think that we really need to work as a society, less divorce shaming and more divorce celebrating. And not that it's the best thing ever, but if you're going to do it, you may as well do it positively. And if that involves a little bit of humor and some, upbeat positivity in whatever form, then we should all be doing this. And there's no downside to it.
And one other question, you mentioned that there's a lot of shaming and the negativity that goes along, that is associated with divorced people, and even when we date, I'm sure you found this, that people, they want to know, well, what happened? Kind of like, whose fault was it? Right. When you do sit down and do the initial 20 questions when you start dating somebody, right? They kind of want to find out what's going on, because they don't want to end up with somebody that, is a loser in relationships or whatever it may be. But it even comes from family or neighbors or friends and things like that. How have you noticed the shift as you started moving forward? Did people come forward and kind of acknowledge the good things that you're doing with this?
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as the divorce shaming, I feel that I feel like initially, I think when people get divorced, I think people don't know how to handle it. And then the way they handle it is not acceptable to me. And I'm trying to educate people. So if somebody gets sick or somebody gets laid off, you very rarely will find somebody interrogating them on why they got laid off, or why did you get sick? What were you doing?
Right. What were you doing wrong?
Yeah. What were you doing? What were you eating that might have made you sick? What were you, But during divorce, everybody wants to know who cheated on who, whose fault was it, what was going on. And I every divorcee that I've ever spoke to, one of the first things I say to them is, you owe nobody an explanation. It is nobody's business. You owe nobody an explanation, because the only two people in your relationship that actually know what went on was you and your spouse.
Right.
And I think this empowers people just to tell people to shut up or don't answer it or tell them that they're rude, because this whole thing needs to shift. And I think that you asked me how's the biggest shift. I think that's how in my own personal life. To begin with, I felt guilty. I felt like it was a failure. Like we use those horrible words, shame, guilt, failure. I've removed those from my vocabulary totally. I advise all divorcees to remove those words. They're horrible and they're not true. You know, most marriages are not failures. The majority of marriages are two good people who came together and realized over time that together they could not make each other happy. And so therefore, a divorce only is the acceptance that two people are happier separate than together. And I think when we look at it much more like that, we can kind of shift away from that whole like divorce is a 4-letter word and it's a dirty word and it's a shameful word, because I don't think this does any good for anyone. And I'm sure you know, because you're in this industry too, divorce is the number one cause of murder and suicide in America, which is unbelievable and totally unacceptable. And part of that is this whole divorce shaming. You already feel bad. You already feel broken. You already feel sad. You already feel dismal. And then you have people questioning you about what you did and why you did it. And, you know, kind of doing the alarmist thing like, oh, no, you'll never see your children again now. Oh, no, how will you ever be able to afford divorce? Mm-hmm. And it's just all very, very negative, very unhelpful and not true. Because I talk to people, the great thing about what I do, I've done it so long now that people come back to me who I spoke to 3 years ago, and they're like, oh my God, like I kind of didn't believe you when I was talking to you, but like I am the happiest I have ever been, ever. Yeah. You know, and they're 40, 50, 60, whatever. And I think if we really, you know, need to move this into this direction, because obviously that statistic is horrifying, unacceptable, and we all need to work as a society and a culture to stop this horrible divorce shaming and making people feel worse and, you know, throwing religion in there and telling people it's against the will of God and all the other things that people say that are unacceptable to me. So, you know, we really need to all work as the members of this divorce industry and divorcees to kind of, you know, politely say to people, no, that's not true.
Yeah, and it's not. And one of the things that's so surprising that this even happens is that divorced people are not a minority.
Correct.
You know, there's so many people. I mean, there's such a high chance that you're going to be the next divorcee. For you to be shaming and stuff is ridiculous. I mean, it happens to half the population.
Yeah, 53% of first marriages. And ironically, quite often it happens to the people who really feel like they need to shame people, and then it will happen to them. And then things definitely after that. Yeah. You know, but we need to just get this word out there to everyone and say, you know, this isn't how it is. Divorce is not a great thing, but you make the best of it like everything else, and you can make it a positive if you really work at it.
Yeah. What was, if we wanted to leave our listeners with like one final thought, one tidbit that of maybe advice or kick in the pants, what would it be that you'd want to leave them with to know that they can move on?
I mean, I really think it's important. The two biggest things I think that I advocate on a personal level when I talk to people is, number one, focus all your energy on what you've gained from your divorce and building your new, bigger, better dreams, and stop focusing on what you've lost. Stop stalking people's Facebook. Stop looking at what your ex is doing. I mean, it's a very basic thing, but all of this is negative and not helpful. You know, if you're angry and you can't let go, this only does more damage to you than them. If you're jealous and you can't let go, this does more damage to you than them. You really need to, you know, take daily positive action. And like everything else, it's a learned habit. The more we do it, the better we get at it. So every day, wake up, do something positive towards your new life, whether it's you're saving for a trip, whether you want to see the world, whether you want to start a new company, whether you want to change careers, whether you want to move house, whether you want to lose 20 pounds. It doesn't matter what it is, but take control of your life and work on it. Like, we can't eat an elephant all in one bite, but we can eat it spoon by spoon. And that's what divorce is like. As soon as you find out that you're getting divorced, you need to start working on positive daily action to get where you want to be in your new life.
Yep. One of my favorite sayings, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Yep. That's great advice. It's great advice to people. Everything you just said, keep looking forward, stop looking back at what you've lost, let go, take care of yourself. All of that is fantastic. And I love what you've done with your site, Dreams Recycled. I'll be sure to put all your contact information and how to get your book, a copy of your book, and all the show notes and on my website. So we'll have all the links there. And thank you. This has been awesome. You're just wonderful. I love all that you're doing. It's very inspiring.
And you too. Thank you so much. I love what you're doing, and I look forward to working with you more in some capacity.
That would be fabulous. Let's make it happen.
Oh, it's been lovely. Thank you so much, Leanne, and I will talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.